So, hello my fellow primates, my fellow earthlings, my fellow human beings and my fellow monkeys. I just did this, some work on this. I do the second layer now and I'm gonna try to paint wet in wet for a few days to try to finish it. And I just did some work on the face, just started out adding more textures and colors, and I talk about skin tone. That's how it looks. I talk about skin tone. I talk about the importance of texture, brushwork, and basically why I paint and why is my driving force, and what should be your driving force if you're going to do anything creative. Or the honesty and the depth and the self-criticism and everything is very important. So that's what I'm talking about in this video. Yeah, and it's of course just a segment of a huger or longer tutorial that I'm doing. So I hope to see you at the end. Give a thumbs up, leave a comment and tell me what you think. Yay! It's very important for the algorithm actually that you give a thumbs up. Do that. And so here we are. We are now going to paint layer number 2 on this painting. Yeah. And I will just kind of start straight on. Without any glaze or anything, I will just go in and start painting. I wonder if I maybe put on some retouche varnish just to kind of see the. I don't think I need that actually. Usually I would do that, but in this thing I don't think it's necessary. Okay. Here it is. So I'll just, you can see the photo and the painting at the same time. Some people actually want me to do more of that, so I will oblige a little bit. I will also make some videos here of, you know, the skin tone and stuff. I'll have to adjust it a little bit. Like this. Okay, so layer number 2. I'm actually scanning some photos today. Also, so what do? Usually I just, maybe I should use some retouche varnish from Old Home. I take this. Now I don't want to, I'm not going to use any glaze because it's not necessary. A little bit of retouche varnish maybe can be helpful, just to see some of the shadows here, just to see pops out like this. And yeah, it's a very rough sketch, so I love the brushwork. It's a shame actually, every time you start up and you paint over stuff like this, it always feels like kind of a loss, because you have to basically kill all your darlings to move on. Well, that's how it is. And if you're not willing to kill your darlings, you will never evolve as a painter, simply. I'm using these Da Vinci brushes, flat. This is really hard. Gee. I'm gonna have to make it so fucking. Okay. Now, I will use these flat brushes in the beginning here, and see the size. Yeah. Okay. So, layer number 2. And I will then start with these things. Put in some light there, or some color. So, yeah. Oh, Jesus. So, now it is always a challenge to find the right color. But that is what I'm going to do here. It actually is quite toned down, so I need to. At the same time, it doesn't actually work putting in more white, more. I need to kind of basically take this down. I think that is more rational to take it down, because it's actually not brighter than I have painted it. It is darker. And yeah. Now, as you can see, maybe you can hear that sound, the scanning sound in the background. This one is. No, I'm not sure if this is that. This is probably digital, but usually I use my camera is a Pentax 6.7 RZ with a handle. It's a very known equipment that I photograph my models with, and yeah. That is like what I like to do. You see now her eyes. I know this face very well, so it's kind of. I actually wanted to do a sculpture of her, but I kind of never got to that point, sadly. But that is. And she has a very sculptural face. I really like the face. So yeah. See. Now this thing is. It's not that many colors I use actually for the skin. I use my blue. I use the alsarin or kraplak, as it's also called. I use the vermillon. I use the cadmium, and I use some. So, and I use a little bit of blue and maybe some black, but to kind of tone it down. It's not that many colors. I think it's more like you just have to find to place the yellows and the greens and the blue and the stuff, so that actually they start to kind of create some coloristic dynamic between them. I do know that most colors are represented in most surfaces, but it is the amount that kind of decide how it looks. So there is not as I said, there is not something called the skin color. It just doesn't exist. Skin color is just, yeah, it's a non-existent belief, and so one basically just have to see what colors there are, more of or less of, and go for that. So yeah. The thinking eye. It's funny when I just fall out into the deep flow. So yeah. There's some blue there. And there's kind of darker inside there. The shadow. There's so many things happening in this. Maybe I should just quit exercising for a few days and just paint. Just paint. Don't exercise. Don't do any heavy lifting. Because that is very typical me. I go to the gym and I train so bloody hard that I can't really focus on my paintings afterwards because I'm just totally worn down. I train and train and train because I love the kick, and then I have to rest and I kind of lose a lot of time. So actually exercise for me was something I should have done after I've done all the work. So you may do only work for a few days, then you take a day or two and you just exercise as fucking crazy, and then I get more time into the painting because sometimes I feel I've been to the gym more than I've been on my canvas, so it's like, and that is the kind of compulsive behavior that is very typical for me. And yeah. So. Let's see. Cheekbones. She's actually German, but she has a very, the Germans and Norwegians are basically the same genome. She looks very Norwegian, but she's German. Or originally half, at least, German. She looks like a Fräulein. Yeah. in the wrong one. See what I can do. Now her eyeball is actually all the way here. It's very bluish, very dark, and you just see it from the side. And there's a little kind of white light hitting it. So she kind of looks, she actually looks into a mirror. And I need to get that look, you know, that she actually looks at something, looks at herself there. So I think it's going to be basically something like, I think it's going to be approximately there, somewhere. Now it has to be more, because it's like, here it's like, it's right over the nose. These things aren't easy, you know. So yeah. But as I say, I love a challenge. A challenge is the most beautiful thing. I'm so much into brushwork that detail is great, but I want them to kind of be very painted. I remember in the beginning when I was painting, I always kind of tried to make everything very flat, and there wasn't much textures and stuff, and brushwork were just a nuisance. But now it's all about the brushwork. It's all about the paintedness, the beauty of the motion in the brushwork. That is what I love. That is what I crave. So yeah. So now, I have this thing I need to operate because I've been training so much that I kind of tore my block. It's called. It's so annoying. Sometimes it makes some sound. Yes, it does, really. Well, yes, it does. Okay. Maybe I should take this first. This first layer on this thing, and post it as a standalone video. Do it deserve that? Maybe. So you can actually see how I paint over the first sketch. I should zoom on it. Go deeper in to it. So, it's easier for you to kind of see what I'm doing. It's like 18 minutes. I can do a half an hour, so maybe I should do a half an hour. And just show you how I start up the sketch, or from start the second layer. People ask all the time, oh, I remember I told it before in other videos, but there was this guy called Wile. Actually, my brother is called Wile. This Wile guy is a figurative drawer painter, but he lacks. Now, today, knowing a lot about narcissism, I would say that he is probably a narcissist because he was treating his wife very badly. And he was smug and he was closed down. And basically the reason why he was actually drawing and painting was clearly not the love of brushwork or stuff. It was to basically impress people. And his stuff bore the stamp of being closed up. He was actually good when it comes to technique, especially drawing, but he couldn't get it to come alive. And it is almost sad because he could have been so good if he had this openness and honesty in his work, but he didn't have that. And he was a friend for a little while. He was always kind of trying to put me down, always. But he was actually in my studio and he looked at them. I knew that I had been painting. And I use the laws of nature, or the Goethe's color circle, and basically the rainbow as my objective standard, how nature actually creates colors, and that is how I think when I paint. And he asked me a question, he looked at some, he couldn't, and that is so strange, he couldn't get the skin tone right. He couldn't, it was kind of this, almost kind of kitsch-like, when they used these feather brushes and brushed everything out and stuff like that, and he couldn't really get into he couldn't get the glow or the color. Like when I'm doing this, I'm adding some yellow, okay? Basically lemon yellow on the hair to get that thing to come alive, and I just put it on to be a contrast to the reddish, and then I will probably go over it with some kaplak or something, and I start doing brushwork. I start to kind of mix the colors on the canvas itself. Then I can go in and I want that highlight, so I go in and I put on some more textures, and then I start to build kind of the sculptural reality of the face, almost like I'm using clay. But this is clay and color at the same time. But this guy had no clue. It was like he couldn't see color. And he was always going to brush out everything because he thought that, it has to be so kind of, there's no texture in it and stuff. And he asked me how I painted skin. And I just told him, I don't paint skin. I just paint what I see. And I use the colors I see. And he got so angry because he couldn't understand what I was talking about. He thought there was a recipe for skin tone, that I had this recipe. Oh, I can see that you have this technique, I can see that you are doing, well, I just look at it and I try to paint what I see. And he just couldn't grasp it. He needed some, almost like you have this, you buy some technical thing and you have this little book that explains to you how to use the iPhone or whatever. And he just couldn't understand that for me, painting was simply a back and forth communication between me, the colors, the pencil, and stuff like that. He just couldn't get it, and he got angry, like a typical narcissist would be, because he couldn't feel. He lacked that feeling, and he also had this emptiness with him all the time. exaggerating that we were so good friends. And I remember telling him, you know, it takes years to become a very good friend of mine. You're just an acquaintance. And you know, it really pissed him off, because I have this bullshit detector. If I meet people who are too grandiose, give me too many compliments and stuff like that, tell me that they love me too soon, or that they, you know, you meet these people and meet them twice and they call you a friend, and then they basically get a little bit drunk and they suddenly love you, they met you twice. He was kind of that type of guy. The hyperbole. And he treated his wife so badly. Beautiful, Eva, her name was Eva, I remember, and he treated her so badly that it pissed me off in the end. Just told him, fuck you for treating your wife like shit. Gaslighting her, pushing her down all the fucking time. And I kind of broke up with him. In a way. And he couldn't take it, you know, he tried so many times to. Oh, you were such a great friend, and blah, blah, blah. I supported you, blah, blah, blah. No, bitch. But anyway, he was so closed off, he couldn't really... And he was good. He could have been very good if he opened up his heart, if you know what I mean. He opened up to his emotions. I'm a very emotional person. If I fall in love, I fall in love, and I have no control. If I like something, I really like something. If I like a friend, I really like that friend. I love that friend, and I mean it, and I really mean it, and there is no half thing with me. When it comes to painting, life, existence, everything burns very brightly. I was talking to my father just now, and I was telling him that. And he thinks it's so strange, because I've also done so many mistakes because of this brain I have, and I become so emotional. And I told him that, you know, of course, I've done a lot of mistakes and it will cost me dearly. But it is that part of me that made me teach me how to paint. They gave me the black belts in Taekwondo. That made me be able to weld with both my hands. But also the thing that made me burn out both my hips. Having my hips replaced when I was 50, basically. And a lot of other things. There was the same brain that made me learn how to paint, that spent an extreme amount of money on bullshit. That kakadu in my head that said, go, 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 go. But it's also the thing that brings with it the passion for everything I do. So I guess it's a mixed bag. And if you don't have passion, you can learn basically everything. But you can only take it that far. And it's the same with love, it's the same with painting, it's the same with life. So, yeah. Anyway, I think this was actually quite a nice rant. I don't know what happened to that guy. It is a shame, because he was good. He is good, or I guess he's still alive. But his smugness and his ego and his narcissism was the thing that kept him from understanding that painting is not about this motive. There are reasons why I love this motive, this girl and stuff, but it's not why I paint. I paint because of these things. I paint because of the brushwork. I paint because of the challenge. And that is the only thing I need, really. When it comes down to it, fuck, if I never have sex again, that would be my least problem. If I couldn't paint, I couldn't do creative work, I would have no reason to be here. There would be no incentive for me to exist. And that is why I always say, that's why I always say painting is not something I do. It is at this point in my life a thing I am. And when I get distracted and can't do the work, I get really seriously depressed. So yeah. So I should avoid people who distract me. I should avoid so many things. And focus on what's important. Results. The thing that process and results. The thing is that the results actually don't last. The results is just a byproduct of this thing called process. And it's process and problem solving, as I say, that is my main driving force. And it's also the main driving force for any scientist or any musician who actually deeply love what they are doing. So, yeah. That is why. So if there is any why do you paint? Why is why. Why? Well, I paint because I like it. That's it. That's all. And why do I paint this girl? Because I love her face. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was a nice rant. It's kind of a good beginning. Hope this kind of cleared out some things. What I use to create is basically this Naples thing. It is reddish, it is some blue. You just have to look at it. Learn how to see color and repeat. And learn how to use the brush. Learn that brushwork, texture is not an enemy like this guy thought. I also had a friend in Stavanger many years ago, and he also wanted to be a painter. He was also a brilliant drawer, Kevin his name was. And he had the same problem. He hated brushwork. And even in 1990, basically 4 or 5, I started to understand that painting was about paint and not motif. And he always babbled about the motif. And what happened? He never became a painter because he couldn't fall in love with the paint. And any artist who is actually going to make paintings has to be in love with paint. So yeah. It mustn't be the girls, it mustn't be the fame, it mustn't be anything of that. It must be the pure feeling, the feeling. You know, money, fame, it can't push me to do anything. Oh, I could have done so much, earned so much money if I had just a fraction of the economical brain as a couple of Norwegian painters that is used basically print as a printing press, no, as a money press. So one of them actually said it, I'm not going to say his name, but he said, you know, prints, it's just a money, printing money. And people buy it, you know, they buy things that aren't really worth anything. And painters who actually print too much or print also steals the market from people who actually do printing. Maybe that's also is a little bit bad, but you know, it's every man for himself, I guess. So yeah, now I'm gonna stop ranting and I'm gonna actually post this video as a standalone. It will also be in the main file, so yeah. I hope it made sense. And, let love be, the love of what you do be your motivation. If you can do that, you have come very far as both a human being and as a, yeah, looks a little bit strange, but fuck it. Okay. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Here you can actually see some of my brushwork, and hope you learned something from it. If you want to learn more, you can go to my Patreon and sign up for $1.15, and I will help you learn how to paint, Skype with you, and both personally and in writing and in videos and stuff like that. So check it out, link in bio.